the next amazing event here at Liminal Village. It's really one of those panels that it's worth crossing the ocean for. So yes, I am extremely grateful and honored to be introducing the next panel. Next panel will see representatives from 3 festivals that are really leading the way of showing new ways of doing things, new ways of being together, how far creativity can go, how far we can go together when we have a common intention. So the moderator is going to be Isis van der Wel. She is a DJ and producer from Amsterdam. She played in the Alchemy Circle the other day, for those who saw her. And so please welcome Isis and the panelists of Boom Fusion Burning Man.
Thank you, Chiara.
So, welcome everybody. It's really great that you're all here, and especially because we have these great panelists here that are going to talk about 3 of the most cutting-edge festivals on the planet today. So I'm really curious about what they can teach us and how we can all inspire each other to move onward with our lives and our communities all over the planet, and be of an inspirational force. We're going to talk today with Harley DuBois. She is Black Rock city manager and co-founder of Burning Man. Next to her, we have a delegacy from Cultuurkosmos. This is the organization responsible for different events, like, for instance, Fusion. You probably know. Next to Harley is Sarah. She's been involved in the Cultuurkosmos organization from the beginning and plays an important role in the production of Fusion Festival. And next to her is the festival director, Eule, and he's also co-founder of the Cultuurkosmos. And this is Diogo Ruivo. Do you say that right? Ruivo? Yeah, I'm from Holland, sorry. And Diogo is co-founder of Boom Festival. Along this panel, we will talk about where the festivals came for, where they're at, where they're heading for, what are the parallels, and what are the differences. And before we start about all this, I would like each and every person on the panel do an introduction of their festival. How did it all start? When did it start? And where did the inspiration come from to start a new alternative festival? Harley.
Thank you. So Burning Man's been around a little bit of a while now. It started back in 1986 on the Baker Beach in San Francisco. In 1990, it moved to the desert, and there it really found its home and a place for it to expand. I developed the infrastructure that makes the city run. So after 20 plus years, I created the way we place all the camps in the city, city planning, all of our systems for lighting the city, information resources, et cetera, et cetera. And then at a certain point, I got handed all life safety, like our communication systems, our fire department, our medical, all of that stuff. So after my contributions of over 20 some odd years, I've given up my role as city manager, and I'm moving on to some other things in the future, but that's how it all started.
Yeah, Cultuurkosmos, how did that start? When did it start? What is it exactly for the people that don't know the place?
Well, Cultuurkosmos started in 97, and even a few years before we started making parties, mostly illegal parties, when we found out in middle of the 90s that we got a bit like bored or rid of like one-dimensional type of parties. There was the only people who did open-air parties, they threw trance parties. So we started with the trance, and then we get to the point that this couldn't be all. There must be much more we can confrontate people with, we can involve in that parties. So we started a project called U-Side, comes from underground side. So we went to places, really different places, mostly with a weird history, military places, or, well, places who had a really bad history. We transformed them, went there, threw a party, get really good organized in these years, so we could bring 1,000 people in about 1 hour to whatever place we discovered. And then we came to a place where we got permission. This was the place from Kulturkosmos where we do now the festival. And when we came there, we found out that this place has amazing options to enlarge our ideas, to realize, to make something bigger, to make something more diverse. So we get to the idea, well, if we can do once a year an event here, we can involve more of this, more theater, more of this. And then we created the association Kulturkosmos, which is implemented in the word Kulturkosmos, as well in the word Fusion Festival, that it was from the beginning the goal to make something which is much more diverse of what we have seen, what other people did. And so this was maybe the beginning of the idea of Kulturkosmos.
Yeah. Thank you.
So the path actually of Boom is quite similar to the path of Fusion. It also started, we started producing parties in the early 90s, in 91, 92 in Portugal, usually always open air parties. And in 96, 95, 96, it became obvious that we needed to gather, we needed in the sense we wanted to gather more friends from around the world in Portugal. The conditions here are usually great weather, like we have here today. And so we started kind of calling in the friends. And so Boom actually was born in 97 also as Fusion. And we started doing it in the south of Portugal. It was in a forest, about 400 kilometers from here now. And at that time, the first event we did was quite a stunning success already. We had something like 6,000 people in the first event that we did, in the first Boom, which was surprising for us because at that time we were doing parties with 1,500 people. So we were quite blasted. And from then on, we kept on doing it every year for 2 years until we got to 98. And we saw, wow, this is growing too fast. Too soon. So it was then that we introduced the gap, the biannual gap. And we stopped in 99, we didn't do it, and then we did it again in 2000, and then every 2 years until now.
Thank you very much. You can keep it. I visited all of your festivals and I really got inspired a lot. All the new information and the alternatives to the ordinary ways of doing is so important for us all to take all these experiences back home and use them in our everyday life. Did you all visit each other's festivals? Diogo?
Well, yes, we have many of the production team actually of Boom has visited both these festivals that are represented here, plus several other ones that exist around the world. Personally, I went to Burning Man in the late 90s or early 2000s. And then Fusion, I became new at Fusion in 2006, if I'm not wrong now. And from then on, for me, it was always very interesting as a research to see. I always called Burning Man as the Big Daddy. So it was always, let's go and see what Big Daddy is doing. And so it was quite interesting to go there and learn. And especially for me, I'm very connected to systems and logistics and how can we cater and hold so many people in an event or in a location. And Burning Man has been always quite a learning process for me in that sense. Fusion has been for me a kind of a mind opening in its fusion, in this variety that it holds and maintains, and in a way the crowd that it has that is extremely varied. And this was in the beginning of when I started going there in 2005 or so. Boom was still very trans-oriented. I mean, trans is still the heartbeat of Boom, but then since a few years it started expanding into new ways and new kinds of music, etc., etc. But fusion was quite astonishing experience in that sense.
Yeah, I can imagine. And
yeah, this is actually our first time at Boom. It's great to be here, and also that you come along all the last years. And I've been one time at Burning Man, 2012. The people from Burning Man came to Fusion and invited us, and so we found the time to come. Yeah, it was great. It was really inspiring, and yeah, what should I say?
This is my first time at Boom, and I have not personally been to Fusion, but our founder, Larry Harvey, and my colleague, Marion Goodell, have been to Fusion. And we have staff that pretty much travel the world and go to different festivals and bring the information back and create relationships and then invite people to come to our events. So we have a real flow of reciprocity and trying to keep the kindred spirits together on a regular basis.
I can imagine that also if you visit each other's festivals or hear stories about them, you see the parallels, that you feel that there's a connection. I see connections between the three festivals on different levels. If you visit each other's festival, do you see something then that you think, oh, now I'm going to bring that back and change my own system in that direction, or that's a good idea, let's implement it? Did you find something that you didn't do yourself yet?
When I was at Burning Man, the people from the logistic and all stuff, they showed us everything how they do it with the ticketing, with different solutions they had to find for the problems. And it was more like, yeah, we do it in the same way. It was more this coincidence that we found alone similar solutions for the same problems if you really think and find your solutions by yourself, and it's not by a business thinking, but more by a, I don't know, creative thinking. So, but still it was inspiring to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Harley, you said that you have examples of how you do it, or you teach people how you work. Is there a way that people can get in touch with that information?
Yeah, actually, that's a lot of what I'm working on now. Is we're developing a whole educational arm for our entity. We started off as a for-profit, and we've moved to a non-profit model because we should have always been there. And with that opportunity, we are even able to go further in being able to give people more things. And we're starting a whole educational arm that we're going to be open sourcing. And we've always been open source. We've been giving away our Ranger Manual and giving away our trainings on volunteerism and all of that for years and years and years. And now we want to do it even bigger and better. And as much as anybody wants it, we're going to give it to people. And it's fascinating hiring someone into that position to do that work. We didn't realize how much we've done. We have so much we've already done and so much more we want to do. And that's our new cutting edge right now, is really moving into education and into sharing and into learning. How do we learn and how can we share?
Yeah, that's great.
Well, we got inspired, even that we have not been here before, by what we have heard from Boom. Like when we came now here, we find out that people are so patient with the environmental. There's nobody is pissing somewhere. There's no rub. Not nobody, but well, we asked ourselves how people are conditioned not to piss, because there's not so many options. Either you go to the toilet. But when we came here, we found out it's so clean and it's so well. It's not because there's always somebody running behind somebody picking up his litter. It's because the people themselves are so well conditioned. That said, no, litter gets there. And this is something we would wish for Fusion, that people get really more inspired of that and say, okay, we have, we need to cash 10 euros by everybody to fill a plastic bag and bring it somewhere to avoid the worst situation that it was, like it was years before, that it was a litter field after the festival. So we get to the point, it's no more a litter field, but we still have, now it's 6 weeks after the festival, we still have 40 people working every day litter picking, and this goes until the end of the month. And we would wish that these people can go to other parties instead of litter picking at Fusion side, and that they have other things to do, and we can train the people to pick their litter themselves. And there's another thing we found out here, like this festival runs first. I could imagine, I've heard that it's run without chemical toilets. We started first time this year to set up 100 chemical toilets because we get inspired. Compost toilet, not compost toilets. So, but and it was a good experience. I might say something later to that, but this was also something when we saw, okay, they did it and they do it well. So why shouldn't we start it and just try to go behind them?
Good, very good.
Yeah, inspiration. I think I mentioned a bit earlier on the inspiration we got logistically just from observing Burning Man, how it's been organized and thought and divided as a city, which is quite amazing. And also I mean, of course, there's a very big difference between the American reality and the European reality, and especially the Portuguese reality, because I call this is the beginning of Africa, and it's very complicated to get so much logistics and so much material and equipment and machines as you can get in the USA. So there's a very big gap, but still we learned a lot there, how to manage things in a better way, how to make the space more comfortable for everyone who comes to the festival. And I think this is one of the points that it's very important, especially in locations like this one, which is not as deserty as Burning Man, but the temperatures here can also get very, very high. And so we really have to pay a lot of attention to keep everyone here quite stable. Dehydrations are extremely high in Boom. They're getting less and less as the years go and as the public gets used to drink more, etc. But also the shades and all of these things started coming after. In the beginning we had very few shades in Boom. For example, we learned that a bit from Burning Man, that they don't build so much shades themselves, but the people build a lot of shades. And so we learned from the public of Burning Man, and that was quite an interesting point also. From Fusion was this, let's say, Germanic practicality, which is, for us Southerners, it's really amazing how efficient it is. And I just want to give an example this year. I went to Fusion and suddenly they were, I'm sorry I talk a lot of logistics, but it's one of my main loves. But, for example, I got to Fusion and they had something like 15 forklifts ready there with one guy or a girl inside with a walkie-talkie ready to go to do whatever needed, whenever needed. Yeah. And here we got 4 now, so we are happy for that. But
well, we don't want to make them wait in this heat.
No, exactly. So this kind of German efficiency has been brought us in a bit.
Keep it by 4, because if you're 40, you can't imagine how it was when you had 4, and it worked anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so there's many things, but I think mainly is the cultural uplifting that comes from visiting the different festivals that brings us new ideas. For us, it's very important to visit the other spaces, what other people are doing, what's the new edge, and especially for Boom, as we have this gap year, which is a research year for us. We do a lot of research in the gap year and go to all the different festivals, see what's new, see what Fusion is bringing in new, see what Burning Man is bringing in new, and then try to readapt it into the Boom reality and make fusions out of these different things. This is what we try to do mostly. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So what I basically hear is that you all feel this urge to change something, to find the new barrier and go across it and lay a new frontier, across that frontier. But which way are you aiming for? Do you have like a mission, vision for your festival that says we want to proclaim this or that? We want to lose from the arts and the programming, the culture programming. Do you have guidelines to where you're heading for, content-wise?
Well, this is maybe one of the differences between Boom, Fusion, and I don't know. I haven't been at Burning Man, but well, we have not a mission. We're doing a festival which developed over years, and we are a very homogeneous group who knows our goals are to create a space where people can have an experience which is out of their normal way, which makes them thinking about how a better world could look like. But it comes to the point when they come to the festival that I feel like, okay, there's so many things are different and so many things I've never recognized before in my normal life, and they start thinking about it. But we are not like that. We feel like we should go around, go outside, spread a message or have a mission. It's more the people come to Fusion and we prepare a festival which makes them thinking and maybe changing their thoughts about things, but it's not that we feel like... We also don't have a speaker or whatever. When we get invited here and somebody told us you should go and speak in front of a few hundred people on a Sunday in English after 3 days party, we said, no way, we will never do this. Now anyway, we came here, and this is also, we came here, it's a homage to the people who do Boom Festival, because we found out it's such a good group, we love them, and we can't say, well, because we don't speak so good English and we don't have a mission, we don't go there. So now we are here anyway.
Wow. Well, first of all, there's always something from another festival that always comes back and changes who we are. And I think what I've noticed here in my short time I'm here is that there's a kindness and a generosity of spirit through all of the staff and through all the people here that I want to see more of at Burning Man, just the way the staff treats each other and the way you guys get on so well. So thank you for that. When we went to Fusion, we really loved to see the variety of music that was curated. And Mr. Larry Harvey, who founded Burning Man, is really not into music, and he came back all pumped up on the music. So that was really exciting. We're at the stage now where we definitely have a vision and missions that we're working towards. Not so much at the event. At the event, we really like things to evolve. Like, sure, this year we want to get more art cars fueled by us as opposed to people bringing in big gallons of gasoline that are a fire hazard. So that's one of our goals this year, for sure. But really, the reason we've grown successfully is because we look at the garden and we pull out the weeds and we tend to the things that are beautiful. And you never know what's going to be a weed and what's going to be a beautiful thing. So we kind of like the organicness of it. That's very important. But we definitely have a vision towards a future that's connected. It's more connected with other festivals. It's more connected with more opportunities with civic engagement around the world. So we're always working in the back of our heads during our event towards how can we execute on that vision, which is one of the reasons I'm here today.
Harley, can you say something about not using money on the festival? Because I see that as a unique element. I don't know, there hasn't been any festival like it. So that is a value that you developed throughout the years. Or did you start with it immediately, and what's the idea?
Yeah, we started with it immediately. Of course, immediately, the first time was 50 people, and then it was 250 people, then it was 500 people. But it was always there that this is not about money. And I've always said, people say, oh, well, you'll sell out at some point. Like, I just gave away my life work to a nonprofit because that's the way it should be. And I've always said, as soon as money came in and started corrupting our values, I'm out of here, I'm gone. And so money is not something that we get very much of or value that highly, honestly. We really value people's individual contributions over money. We value people's needs and wanting to give to the community much higher than money. So it's always been there, and it was a real struggle for many, many, many years. But now that we've become a nonprofit, and now that we've grown to a critical mass where we're actually hitting CEOs of corporate America, and they're getting the value of what we're doing, we really hope that the money is going to flow back and that we won't have as many money issues, but not because we did it wrong and sold out, but because we held tight and stayed with it, and we're moving the right direction. Now, watch us. If in 2 or 3 years we're not there, then we're going to tank. Burning Man's not going to happen anymore because we're putting it all on the line right now. But that's what we're going for. We haven't sold out yet, and we don't intend to.
One big difference between the festivals, especially if we're looking at Burning Man, where there's all this participation, that no spectators, only participators is the sentence, right? Or that's basically the idea. Here in Boom, we don't have that crowdsource element other than the volunteering. Is that right, Diogo?
Yeah, and also, I mean, also bringing in Fusion, for example, into that question. This is a point that I find very, very interesting in Fusion, is that there is very much a kind of a central production that holds the space for many different groups to come and build in their things. Boom started a little bit the other way around. It started as a central production that builds everything and brings in the teams to help doing it. And it's still very much running like this. Of course, every different area that you see now here has a very independent team with its own budget, etc., etc. But it is still very much centrally coordinated, and the operational side of Boom is still all central. And in a way, this has been kept over the years for, how to say, probably to keep the vision of this festival running through, and also maybe because we didn't learn to do it another way, right? Probably in the future it can be changed, and it's always open to change. The Boom Festival team, they are open to change and to see what can come in the future, new ways, new collaborations, new patterns of organizing and managing a festival and creating a festival. But at the moment it's still very much central coordinated.
But you can participate as a volunteer. If I want to work for Boom,
Yes.
there's a possibility to enter.
Yeah, you can, and we have a thank you to all the volunteers this year. They were great and precious. Yeah. And what we've been doing in the last few years with the volunteers, which are growing, the amount of volunteers every year, is we try as much as we can to place them in jobs that they will learn something. So either bioconstruction or compost toilet systems, how they run, or whatever. And this is how we are trying to slowly bring in volunteers into the organization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're open for a possible change in the future. You're not saying it has to stay like this. It just didn't happen yet.
Yeah, and it's definitely open. It's definitely open. More and more we are starting to receive external projects that want to do things here, that make proposals, that try to fit in, and we try to cater for them.
Yeah, it would be nice, maybe an open stage that they can...
It's possible. All possibilities are open. Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. And Eule, Sarah, how does it work with Fusion? I see these. You have a how do you call it? An Arbeitsamt, where you can apply for a job. If you're in Fusion, you want to have a job, you go to the Arbeitsamt, to the job office. How does that work with you?
It's nice. Yeah, we have two structures of collaboration. Or first of all, we are like one group who's organizing everything, but we work with 200 groups, 7,000 people, who are all the groups work independently. Some do stages, some do different stuff like the rubbish collection or the gate manager or the kitchen or stuff like this, and they are self-organized. So this is really like a network or like a spider web or like an organic structure, which I really like, and I think it's also special, and also makes it more like other people. Also 7,000 people, they are crew. We call them crew. We don't call them staff. I think it's also because they are like self-organized crews and they find their own solutions. And you can see it also if you go to Fusion and you go to a space, to a floor, you see everybody does it really with their heart, and the money they earn from this, from the bar or whatever, they put in their projects. They are like political groups or like youth groups or like they do political stuff or cultural stuff, and they don't work for money. And this you can also feel. Even Larry told it when he came to Fusion, and he was like going to a bar and buy a beer and gave money and get the beer, that it's a different sensation than in the rest of the capitalistic normality, what we know, because the people don't really work for money there, they work. So this is the 7,000 crew people, and then there's again like 6,000 people, they're just guests. They are like you, the boomers, come, buy a ticket, come to Fusion, have a great party, and then they can go to the job center, Arbeitsamt, however you want to call it, and they do one shift and do stuff like helping, also collecting rubbish or helping in the gate, helping things, or in the kitchen also, and they got money back. So they can come to the Fusion, buy a ticket and get a bit of money back, so they pay like half of the price. And this is also like, yeah.
Harley, we've heard that volunteers can enter Boom and Fusion Festival. In Burning Man, everybody can do something, or you can build your own structure. What are the restrictions of contributing to Burning Man if I go there?
Well, there's no restrictions on contributing. So we have different tiers of volunteerism. First of all, when you volunteer for Burning Man, it doesn't mean you get a free ticket. And we've never compromised on that, because if someone is going to come and volunteer, and I know that they're doing it because they want a ticket, I'll never know whatever their motivations they have. If somebody comes and says, I'm willing to do this, and I'm going to buy my own ticket, I know that I have somebody, or we have somebody that's motivated to be there for the reasons that we want to be there. And we do reimburse people for tickets after they have worked hard. And different teams, there's 60 different departments that make Burning Man happen, and every team has its own variation on what that means. Like when you're working a ranger shift and you're kind of in the thick of it with difficult situations, you only have to work 4 shifts. But if you're doing the greeter shift, which is just kind of fun, then you have to do 6 shifts. So it varies, but people can be reimbursed, and people who are hardcore, tried and true, will get their ticket to get in that year, not you work this year and we give it to you for next year, but to get in that year. So we're pretty hardcore when it comes to it. But what it's done is it's made it fair across the board for everybody, and everyone kind of knows that everyone's there for the same reasons, at least in the same realm of the same reasons, and it's worked well for us as we've grown.
But I'm talking about the visitors that not necessarily want to volunteer on the working team, but for instance, they want to set up their own area. That's possible at Burning Man.
Oh yeah, that's what makes Burning Man. Burning Man, the infrastructure, the people that make the city just create a vessel. All we do is create a vessel. And without the people that come to the event would not happen, because we don't have stages and book artists to perform in the stages. We don't try to get so many performance acts and so many of this act or so many art sculptures. Whoever comes, and they just do what it is they're going to do. So it's totally self-made. It's a DIY society completely. The infrastructure is there, and the infrastructure means porta potties, roads that are defined, safety, medical, staff that's there to help you and support you. But you don't know they're there until you need them. And everyone brings it themselves: shade structures, their own water, their own coffee, their own fabulous art, their own amazing stages for music, etc.
So there's never a program, I can never see the program, I just have to experience it.
Well, yeah, you can see the program. It is really long. It's generated by the people who meet the deadline to get stuff in, and there's so much stuff that doesn't even get in. So it's online. You've got like 48 hours to get your thing in. You get in and you get into the program. Otherwise, it's on computer, but computers don't really work out there, so you better look before you come, because it really is in the middle of nowhere, and your cell phones don't work, and your computers don't work. So there is a program. It's self-generated. But we again host the opportunity for people to put it up there, their stuff up there, and we produce the pamphlet to give to people, but we don't control the content.
Okay, that's interesting. And is there any restrictions to the age of the visitors of Burning Man?
We are a family-friendly event. My daughter's been coming since before she was born, because she was in vitro my first year, and my mother comes at 84, and I'm just one of many. It's a family reunion for a lot of people now. The age spans are vast.
And how does it work with Fusion or Cultuurkosmos? Do we have children there?
Yeah, at Fusion there's also a children's space or a family space where people with children can come and camp, and it's not so loud there. And there's also a program for children. So children with their parents can come,
Yeah.
but children or young people without parents cannot come.
No.
So we try to take care a bit about it.
We had to decide to separate the family area a bit from the big side, and it was also a compromise with the authorities, who said, okay, you have to take care of children's care, health, whatever. And when they came and they saw like small children with people out of their head on the dance floor, they said, well, not only them, also we said, this is not possible, this is not good. So we decided children can come on the side with the whole family in the daytime, but when it becomes night, the children have to stay in the family area because we don't want to have children with us when we get out of our head and everything is going on like high time party. It's not for children.
Well, there's the Bim Bam Boom here in Boom, which is just up here, behind here. It's a marvelous place for all children of all ages. From the beginning, we always had families coming, and the whole thing started as a family gathering in a way. So, yeah, this idea of children is part. We don't even consider it external. It's part completely of the festival. And it's growing. It's also growing. Every year we have more and more, different ages. We kind of slowly introduced a restriction of age. I don't remember exactly what's the age limit at the moment, but it has to do... 1 year. Okay, so there's a mother there. Yeah, it's a 1 year because before we had, it just came from a case where I think it was 2008 where we had a baby like with 3-4 weeks here, and the things didn't go too well. The baby is good and is healthy child now, but things didn't go too well here for the baby. And from that time on, we decided, okay, the child has to be stable already to be here. It's a very hardcore environment. So from then on, everyone can come. You know? That's the idea.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think it's also important that all the generations have a chance to experience these new experiences together, so we can compare our perception and exchange the ideas that we all learn throughout our lives. And also, I think one of the values I've recognized in all of your festivals in one or another way is the environmental aspect. I think now in the world we are going through a change on that behalf, but I see that especially these festivals have a leading role in changing the ways of using the materials, recycling, food and beverage, waste control. You don't seem to have put it up as an official mission, but I believe that you do have a special feeling for that.
Yes, our feeling, I can speak for Boom in the sense that our feeling came from a very big question that it came to our minds after every festival. And the question I think is also still pertinent today, and it should be in everyone's heads, is do we have the right to bring so many people to one location to them completely dump it after we have a party? You know, and obviously the answer is no. The answer is definitely no. And this came from there, the concept, okay, we must change. We must change this very fast, and we started in the early 2000s already to bring consciousness to the public, to bring consciousness to ourselves, to start learning systems, because there wasn't really too many systems of running a festival in a sustainable way. There wasn't until then. There was a few little events in England and 2 or 3 in the United States, but there wasn't too many things in large scale. And in this sense, Boom, since the middle 2000s, has really put a lot into researching, inventing, designing, engineering ways of becoming as sustainable as it can be. There's still a way to go, but it's on its way. And I'm also happy to hear from Eule that, you know, for them it's nice to see an event that people are already slightly more conscious of what they can do in an event and keep an event as clean as Boom is nowadays. And this was a very long process of learning and teaching.
Yeah, because you said there was a whole pile of mess at first. How did you educate the visitors? How did you do that?
Subtly. It's a bit, I mean, you know, you start bringing in information through the media that you have as an event organizer or as the event itself, and then it has a lot to do with also work on the ground. And there's an amazing team that's been working on this area, which is actually to slowly teach people what to do with their garbage in event, where to put it, how to place it. And so for many years we had teams that, for example, in the early morning were on the dance floor, and as soon as they saw someone putting something on the floor, they would look at the person, pick up that thing, and putting it in the trash. This is enough.
Yeah, excellent.
You know, and so slowly this came as a memory to people to not do it anymore, and people start feeling that, yeah, I must change my ways. The next big thing we've done is, for example, the restaurants. Actually, it's very interesting because as I'm speaking, we just had a huge meeting with all the restaurants because, of course, this festival became slightly bigger than expected this year. And so all the restaurants had bought just about enough plates, biocompostable plates and forks and knives and plates and cups. And now they are coming to the end of it. And they still have one more day to run. So everyone is begging us, please, can we use plastic again? Because that's what we can buy in the supermarket here near in Castel Branco. And we say, no, we will find you a solution. And so we are finding a solution for them. And so in that sense, you know, this mind shifting of everything, not just the people, but the organization itself, the people who come from external to help build all these restaurants and foods and chai shops, etc. They also have to change their ways. And it's from top to bottom and bottom to top, the change.
Yeah, that's really good. I'm glad to hear so. Thank you. Burning Man started with Leave No Trace, I assume. Or did it come up when you went to the desert?
Yeah, we're the largest city users of Leave No Trace on the planet that we know of. And it actually happened in 1997. 1997 was a really seminal year, and it's interesting to me that both of your festivals started in 1997. That was the year that we banned driving in our city, that we created more infrastructure and made people camp in a certain area so that we could actually find somebody if they got hurt, instead of saying like, oh, ambulance, go over there by the red tent and the green truck. Like, no, it's on street A at Z, you know. And that was the year that we were on private land and we had to cut a road into the environment, and we had to replant it afterwards, or we were going to get a really bad rap by the local community, and we would have lost our opportunity to do our event. So we quickly turned around and started a group of volunteers, and they decided to name themselves the Earth Guardians. And the first thing we did was reseed that road, and when you drive by that road today, you can't tell it's there anymore. And so that started an entire movement. We then started working with the federal government to take these Leave No Trace principles. They started training us through Leave No Trace. Now we train hundreds of people every year on Leave No Trace principles. And we're one of the best stewards of the Black Earth Desert. We're the gold standard for our federal government on how to clean up after ourselves. We have no garbage containers at our events. We'll never have garbage containers. And we teach people extensively how to compost things, how to dry out their rinds, how to make their stinky stuff go away, because they're all driving 6 to 10 to 12 hours out of our event with their stinky garbage in the back of their car. So we teach them how to do that better. It's been a long, hard-fought battle, but it's one that's paid us in spades over time. And there's a lot of information on our website about how we do it. It wasn't easy, but it was really important.
Yeah. Because it goes a little bit further on Burning Man. You not just clean your own garbage, you also keep every little wire or tiny little piece of plastic, we call it moop, right?
Matter out of place, moop.
Yeah. And what happens with the moop?
So we actually have to clean absolutely everything up because the environment we're in is not organic in any way, shape, or form. It's alkaline. And if you leave a watermelon pit or you clip your fingernails and leave your fingernail, it will blow down the ply and exist for hundreds of years. So we clean absolutely everything up. And the interesting thing about that is people say, well, why are you different than, like some concert people go to that feel great, and then 10 days later, they're just back to the way they were before, they're no different. And it's things like this. When you have to be responsible for every fingernail clipping, and you're going to get hassled. This is where you guys are so nice. Like, we use public embarrassment to teach people to clean up. We GPS the entire city, and we marked it green, yellow, and red. And when somebody was red, the whole community got mad at them for being red. So we're kind of hardcore that way. But when you learn that lesson, you take it with you, and you bring it home, and all of a sudden your neighbor starts doing it, and then your father starts doing it, and then your other neighbor starts doing it, and it kind of sticks with you. And when you have something that feels good like that, that you start teaching other people, it reinforces itself. So I think that's one way that we've been able to change our cultures at home based on a simple principle that we use at Burning Man in the desert.
Yeah, true. This panel is called Global Transformation Through the Arts, and right now we're here in the Luminal Village, which is a speakers area where we have panels, but not every festival has a space like this. Eule told me you're not doing it at Fusion?
Well, we don't have a speakers area like this, but we have two different places where we can make conferences or meetings. There's a lot of political groups. We have 3 different places. Maybe one I haven't discovered already. But anyway, there are places and people organizing conferences or meetings. A lot about actual political themes, and there's also a big workshop area, and in between the workshop and the conference area, it could change. There could be a workshop, there could be a meeting, and there's like we call it the oasis, which is almost run by political groups, and it's a small area where there's all different kind of exhibitions or meetings, lectures, lectures, whatever, and.
So things happen during the festivals.
They're happening things, but when we see this, we got inspired to say maybe we should you think about developing or doing something like in that size or in that importance like it is here in the future.
Yeah, an in-depth content element. Burning Man has its program from the participants. If there's no participants setting up a space like this, is there a space like this?
There's actually a number of spaces like this. A lot of the community has taken it upon themselves to make this kind of space. And we are in support of 1 or 2 of them as well. We don't put any money towards them, but we help to foster good activities at them. So I'd say there's as many as 12. We started doing a little sub-cataloging of anything that was academic or anything that was lecture series, because it's become trendy. We all know TED has made it kind of trendy. So we actually have TEDx at Burning Man, and there's about 10 other spaces that do all kinds of programming that are just programming, 24/7 for the length of the event. And then there's so many different kinds of lectures that happen that you would get in that catalog that we print of just people with their own expertise coming in and sharing it. When I was pregnant at Burning Man, I went into all this stuff and learned all this stuff about becoming a mom. When, different phases of my life, I've gone to Burning Man and learned a lot of things that have helped me as I've moved forward with my personal quests.
I've just heard we have 10 more minutes to have this panel going on, and then afterwards you all get a chance to ask questions if you want to. But before we finish this, I would like to see if there is any possibilities for these 3 festivals to collaborate in the future, or are you already collaborating, and what way are you planning to evolve?
Well, just because I have the mic, I guess I'll just start. So we have been very interested in collaborating, as I said before, and I'd love to see collaboration. I will be affected by this when I go back, and we'll see change based on my experience here for sure. But I think it's really our duty to go beyond that, and that's my new role actually with the entity, is to try to formalize Burning Man being a node for all the activities that are happening globally. We have 240 people around the globe that are designated as people working with us. We have over 60 sanctioned events, meaning they're allowed to use our name because we know we're aligned with them enough that we're willing to let them use our name. And there's many more events around the world. From being the first disaster relief plane to fly in with medical supplies to Haiti, to doing lecture series or other creative events like this one that are already happening, that are connected, that identify as being Burning Man. But I believe we should go much further than that. I've started a group in San Francisco that takes a major museum, a science and art museum, to work with a foundry and forge and jewelry making facility that's cutting edge, that also is working with the Maker Faire, if you guys have heard of Maker Faire, which has gone global as of late. And we're working together as business entities within the city because we have a larger voice. If we're all working together, we've gotten our fire department to pay more attention to us and our city to pay more attention to us. So I feel like it's all of our duties to take what we have and share it together. And I look forward to much more connectivity with festivals moving forward.
Well, yeah, yes, it's definitely a big yes for us. I think we still have a lot to learn and a lot to evolve, and ideas can come together between festivals. Mainly because we still have a big responsibility here as festivals, as I call them beacons of sanity in the middle of insanity. And this is what a festival is for me nowadays. It's a place where I can come and temporarily live something different. And this is something that it's very difficult to generate in our current controlled society. And I think all of the festivals represented here at the moment are quite good, let's say, logarithms of this. They can create a lot of these powerful new dimensional places for people to experience different situations, different perspectives in life. It's short, it's very impactuous, and it really transforms people in a way, whatever way it is. If it's Burning Man, it's a way, Fusion is another way, Boom is another way, but it creates the same kind of awakening. And I think this is very much where the festival should slowly start to get together and say, okay, we've defined and designed different equations that come to the same, let's say, result. How can we bring it together to even make it more powerful? Because if something we did nowadays in this crazy world, it's something that makes it transformational, faster and more powerful, and for bigger crowds. And in a way, this is my perspective, and I hope we can work together more and more and more. Personally, I would like very much to start, because it's a closer neighbor, to start working a lot more with Fusion and exchanging more and more ideas. And of course with Burning Man also, even though you are on the other side of the Atlantic. But still, it's great that you are here and to be in contact. And definitely many things will come out of it. Yeah. But essentially, for us, it has to do with this responsibility that the festivals that have made it into this, let's say, non-commercial perspective, which is 99% of the events nowadays in the world. So the festivals that have made it from a non-commercial perspective and have something more to it, it's really a mission that they should get together as much as they can. Yeah.
Collaboration is the way forward. And talking about collaboration, I really would like to know where the name Fusion came from, because from what you're saying, I kind of understand it comes from fusing different cultural influences, but didn't it also have to do with the different cultural backgrounds of the people starting it?
No. The cultural background of most of them, they came out of of subcultural context of political movements, whatever, and they started getting into living some or bringing some hedonism in their life in the early 90s, like it was me as well. And we find out, okay, there's not only political fight that is important in life. There's also you need to get something to strange your soul, and we started making parties. And in the beginning, it was like it was difficult because people had fear about getting involved or other people getting involved in partying, because they found they will lose their consciousness about political issues and political themes, which did not happen. But the fear was there, and when we went to really fundamentalistic places where there was never before a techno party. So we went there, and there was there was a gay group, there was a dark room, there was techno all night long, and people like never had seen this before. And there was a 1 year discussion afterwards if this could bring the movement forward, or if this would stop the political movement in a while. Because if everybody is only making party, what happens with the political fight? So nothing happened. Like many of these people are involved in Fusion, are part of our network, and have found the way of being political on one side, fighting for what's wrong against what's wrong in this world, and having fun on parties on the other side, and brings both together. And fusion was more like we need to find a name who brings it on a point, on one word, what we want to do, and so it was fusion.
Yeah. Anybody in the room wants to contribute?
So collaboration of community and infrastructure are the major themes I'm seeing when I'm listening to you who have founded these major gatherings of people. And I'm wondering, as a person that's interested in adding an event or creating a space, like another cultural space where people are free and doing the same sort of thing, am I missing something here? And it seems so much in my mind when I think of how to start and move forward. That you need the community, you need the infrastructure. Do you need some type of security in order to allow it to grow?
Well, I think it's always a matter of talking to the local authorities, and you need the right people to do so. But maybe you have a team, lawyers. How do you communicate with the local?
I'll pass to Big Daddy because they are the specialists at that.
Well, we got away with being totally under the wire and totally renegade until 1997. We got away with it in the United States, and every country is different, until somebody got hurt. And then I felt really, really, really bad and wanted to quit. And then the heat came down. And that's why we became an LLC instead of becoming a nonprofit, because it takes a long time in the United States to get a nonprofit together. But you can make a legal entity called an LLC in 10 minutes. So we became one because our event was going to shut down. And that's why, because somebody got hurt, we stopped driving and we stopped all these other things. So, and it changed the whole flavor of our event, and we lost a whole half of our event because everything was different after that. So we went from being really totally anarchistic, just anything goes, and it was awesome. It was so fun, to being responsible and caring about people and being really concerned about people's safety. And that was also awesome, but it was very different. So I think it kind of depends on where you're living and what you want to do. And how afraid are you? Like, how much risk are you willing to take? Because we're still a really, really, really risky event. But we don't risk people's lives. Well, I guess we do a little bit with all the fire, but we don't take the same kinds of risks as we used to. So I think it really depends on where you're at. We have a whole legal team. We have an in-house general counsel, and we have probably 30 other lawyers that volunteer their time to help us. Whoa. But we're big, and we live in a very litigious society. So we need that. I don't think everyone does.
Well, let's perspectivate here in time. When we started in 90 whatever, we did it very much as they did it. It was totally illegal. We just had a nice van with a great generator and a great sound system. We would choose a beautiful location with there's thousands of them in Portugal. And we would just call the friends, let's meet, Friday night, full moon, whatever, let's make a party. And that's how we started, Of course, as the group started growing, I still remember the first time we actually said, okay, this time we get a really nice sound system, a really good generator so it doesn't crack up 5 times in the night. And we're going to get maybe a nice DJ from England, so that's going to give us costs. And then we started bringing, tickets in. This was like 93, 94. And then after that, when we started growing, suddenly the authorities found us. At that time was like, okay, you guys are here. You're bringing in, 1,000-2,000 people into your events. This was still the parties, as I told you earlier on. We need to do something about this. So we want our share of it. So then started the licenses. The licenses in the beginning were all dealt by me, and that very soon this was totally impossible. We started having people working for us to help us guide us through the licensing of an event. As this thing kept on growing, nowadays we have actually a whole team of lawyers, licensed people, politicians that help us out to actually make this event possible. For example, for any of you to touch that water, which is there, we had to go through this amount of licensing this year, because that water supposedly can only be used by the agriculture people that use it a few kilometers away from here. we are not supposed to touch that water legally. So for us to be swimming in it, using it, pumping it into the gardens, etc., it's about this big, the licensing process. So of course things get complicated as you grow, but that's society in general, I would say. And I think Fusion also had a lot of this in the last few years.
We had a very special situation in the 90s after the reunification, and the former DDR, the eastern part of Germany, GPR, when we came there, like the authorities have not been prepared to anything like a big party. Like they were really still not really trained. And when we started, they had no idea how to manage it. If we would have done this south of Hamburg, it would have not been possible from the beginning. But in the eastern part, it was possible. People have been much more open-minded. They say, well, let's let them do once, and let's look what they do. And after we did the first, they said, what happened? We didn't even hear it, whatever. It was not too loud, maybe, not so loud. But then they found out it was not bad, and they say, well, but it's for young people, so there's nothing happening here in the middle of nowhere. And they do something. They come, they are nice, they are friendly, so let's go with them. And they participate from the beginning in a friendly way. And we get to the point that if we find out there's a problem, and we find out the problems first, of course, because we are there, then we solve the problem before they find out there's a problem. And it never happened that they came to us and say, you have a problem. We can go there and say, we have a problem. We had a big problem this year with the overcrowding. And it came to the point that we knew as soon as they know what big problem we have, they will say, we can't give you permission for that anymore. But because we know we have to solve the problem, because they say we can't give you permission, we solve the problem.
Very good. Something about the Kulturkosmos territory is also different than your territory, because you both use a temporary space and you have bought the land. How does it work there?
We have bought the land in the last year, piece by piece. The first 58 acres, how do you say?
Acres?
Acres. We bought in '94. Because when we started, of course, we brought a lot of things there. We start infrastructure, water, electricity, whatever, and we knew it's a question of time till somebody will come and like to buy this piece of land. It was owned by the government. It was a former Russian airport, so it was after the Russians had left. It went back to the German government, and we knew if we will not lose it in a few years, we have to buy it. So we bought the first piece, and then piece by piece. Now we have about 100 acres, so which it's almost 2/3 of what we use for the festival. The rest we rent from the airport, but because it's our own land, it gives us some different conditions. Like, for example, police would not come to the site. We have a really clear appointment that their area is the streets outside, and they don't come. They would never go and act on, or even try to come onto the site. And it's not that they're angry about it. They know it's much more peaceful if they respect it like it is. And never in 18 years they brought up the question, why can't we go in there? And it was small in the beginning. And of course, if there are 2,000 people, you can say, well, there's no need for police. But if there's 60, 70,000 people, of course, some people can ask, why is there no police inside? It's maybe a really unique situation, and we are really happy that it's like it is, and we want to keep it like it is.
What I've been really enjoying at Boom is being barefoot. Whenever I visit my family at home in Germany, I go and visit Fusion. One thing that I've always found a bit annoying, and probably when you talked about the garbage collection as well, is the glass bottles, and particularly their broken state. Are you considering abolishing glass bottles from the site and making it a glass-free event?
Well, when I came here and I saw everybody is buying cans, I was wondering, what the fuck is that? Cans. You know, cans in Germany, it's a no-go. Well, it's funny to drink beer from cans after having done it for so much time. Cold beer from cans, well. Anyway, there's a reason here why they sell cans, and we sell glass because beer on a glass bottle is much better than beer as a can. But yeah, it's the problem. The problem is not the glass bottle. The problem is how people use the glass bottle. The problem are the people who throw them on the floor, and we have to change the people's mind that they should not throw it on the floor. Where there's a deposit on the bottle, and this year we started setting up all displays in every places where people can bring. And the problem is not the bottles they buy at in the festival, because these ones have a deposit. They get 50 cents back. So these ones get not destroyed. The problem is the bottles they bring, and there's no fence. There's no border between the campsite. There's a fence now, but you can bring whatever you want. So we have to collect these bottles where nobody gives a deposit, and we have a lot of bottle collectors, and maybe they can solve part of the problem. And the main solution is to make people thinking, but the glass and broken glass on the ground is bullshit.
First of all, I would like to say that I appreciate very much the solution that I see here at Boom about how to reduce our impact. I would like to bring the idea of giving one cup at the gate to everybody here at Boom, so they can use the same cup for the whole festival, to reduce the number of plastic cups that we use. Of course, we can recycle, but if we reduce the amount of garbage, it's even better. And I know that some festivals are already doing it. And I think most of the people coming here at Boom would be very happy to receive one plastic reusable cup to use it for the whole festival. And I want to ask to Diogo, what do you think about this idea? It could be implemented, or you already thought about that? Thank you.
Yes, we did. Okay, so the cup situation like this. The cups we use are non-plastic. They are potato starch, and they are part of our composting system. All the cups that you have here are going to go straight into the compost system that the restaurants also make part, and the toilets also make part, and is all transformed back into minerals. The idea of bringing a cup, actually, it was from in Holland, another festival in Holland at Langevel. They did it back in the 90s, and in the north of Europe you can do it because the temperatures are quite low. Here we cannot risk that in the name of health. We have mainly a few cups that are for the core staff that have access to very, let's say, easy cleaning systems, and they can clean their cup every day with soaps and etc. But to have, a few tens of thousands of people hanging around with their cups in the dust, it would create a bit of a mess in the sense of medical sense. So that's why we've opted not to do it, but to go to the starch, to the potato starch cups.
We use the same kind of cups for our staff in their commissary, and so we're all sustainable like that as well. We have a big push that's BYOC, bring your own cup. And we had to fight with our health department to let them do it because of the health reasons. But because we don't have no centralized kitchens at all, and everyone's bringing their own, we have never had to fight the battle with the health department that we're responsible for somebody else getting sick because everyone's feeding themselves. So we get away with it because of that, but we had to fight for it.
Hi, right over here. Hi there. This question's really for Harley. I'm an 8-time burner and a first-year boomer, and I'm wondering if there's been any discussion about composting toilets in Black Rock City.
Yes, there's lots of discussion about composting toilets almost every year. At this point, we haven't found a vendor that's able to supply over 1,500 toilets for us, and we can't manage it. The green year, maybe you were there because I think that was within the 8 years, the green year. We looked into it and we had some. They were really hard for us to maintain. We also did biodiesel that year with selective camps. It was kind of a nightmare, but once you get used to something, it gets better. So there's certain things that are just too hard for us to do right now with the current manufacturers. But our goal is over time to find somebody to work with and be able to do that.
Can you talk about the influence of drug policy and the perception of drug use in your respective countries, and how it affects the behavior and safety of the population at each festival, and how you view each other in that respect?
When we started with Fusion, there was a lot of fear of the people around the locals, when they see, well, there's a festival coming, this bunch of hippies, what are they bringing? They're bringing drugs, bad attitude, whatever, bad influence to our kids. They were afraid. So we had to do like conferences with involved like police or politicians, so that all kind of society or social workers and whatever, to talk about whether we want to have a repressive drug policy or a preventive. And we always said, okay, we want to have a preventive drug policy. We say, okay, it's people's own responsibility, and what the politic does is repressive, and they can do it outside of the festival, and they still do it. We have heavy controls. When you come to the festival, when you leave, you should not leave the festival if you're not at least have been 2 days clear in your head, because otherwise you will lose your license. In Germany, it's really hard. You will lose your license easily. And nowadays they have really good chemical tests to see whether you had used drugs 2 days, 3 days before. So we keep the space open until Wednesday to give everybody the option to come down, to become clean again, and to leave the site and go and run in the arms of the police when they are clean.
Well, yeah, definitely the country and its policies affect how festivals manage their drug policy. In Portugal, at the moment, we've got a law which is mild, let's say. It's not totally permissive, but it's mild. And so we are a bit more relaxed inside the festival than most of the other countries around Europe can be, for example. For us, the main point is that, again, it's like garbage, it's nothing to do with it, but again the question came, if we bring this amount of people together, knowingly, because we're not stupid, that obviously many of them will try different substances. It is our responsibility as a community, not only as festival producers, but as a community, all of us, to actually take care of our own tribes. Politically speaking, or let's say regarding authorities, at the moment in Portugal, as I said, it's mild, and so the police are also getting milder. They are still adapting to the new law. It's a very new law. It's got only a few years, so the older police are still in the old frame. The newer police are trying to teach the newer police the new frame. But it's working. It's slowly working. It's slowly becoming more permissive. And I think you've pretty much felt it. There's quite a lot of freedom inside this festival. Yeah, definitely.
So, the United States is really hard on these kinds of topics, so it's a very difficult environment. I really love what Portugal is doing here, trying that experiment on for the rest of the world, and I think it's successful, and I'd love to see us in the United States adopt that perspective on drugs. At the event, our drug statistics are extremely low. And that's because you don't go out to the middle of nowhere, I mean really the middle of nowhere, where you can't wear your shoes because the ground is going to make your feet slice and get bloody. And when the dust storm comes, you really can't see your hand in front of your face and take drugs stupidly. So we have a pretty informed, pretty intelligent populace that comes, and our statistics are quite low. You would not know that by listening to any of the media or talking to law enforcement at our event. And law enforcement at our event does come into our event whenever they feel like it. And please nobody quote me in the media. I believe that they're there mostly to catch, they want to find traffickers, but they found very few. They just really kind of bust people. So it's a kind of a hostile environment when it comes to drugs. So people really have to be on their guard. So it's complex. It's getting better over time. Over time is like we all get older and have more relationships with them. They trust us more. And actually, frankly, as we've climbed the ladder and are dealing with Washington, D.C. rather than the local county in our area, we're getting a little more leverage on it. But it's a very complex subject, one that I don't like to talk about very much because I get upset.
Thank you.
Yeah, hello. I'm Popish from Germany. I got a question to all of you. How do you make decisions on certain issues? For example, glass bottles on fusion or not, or Boom is sold out or not. How do you collect opinions, and what is the process of finding a decision?
Because I have the mic, I'll go first. We have been strictly consensus for about 20 years, and as of late, now that we have 3 nonprofits and we really are global, we've had to sort of modify that consensus, but it's deeply embedded in who we are. So now we have what we call meta decision makers. If you walk in the room and your voice is going to be heard, your voice is very, very valuable, and you will know whether you walk in the room, whether it's going to be a consensus-based decision or whether there'll be a meta decision maker, and that person will then take everyone's opinion and then have the final say, because sometimes we just can't wait that long. But we try to stay with consensus as much as possible. We have a document exactly about what we mean by consensus because, again, true consensus is really difficult to meet, but we very formalized it. We know exactly what we mean when we say it, and we all go by that.
It's a good question. It's different. It's I would say we are kind of non-hierarchical, and we are hierarchy also, both. We are also a group like the Association Kulturkosmos. It's a non-profit association. We are like 25 people or 30 people, depends, or 20. We are meeting like once a month or the year long, and we take decisions also in consensus, more or less, like it is in groups also. Then some questions also the crews or the people who work can decide by themselves, more or less. So not every question has to be asked in the big group. This man here beside me sometimes also takes decisions by its own. But it's also okay. Like I said, it's a hierarchy and non-hierarchy structure. So, and we discuss about it. We find solutions. We fight. We have fun in it. So, yeah, I would say. Yeah, and this is also good. In this group, the association, all these 200 groups, what I was talking about before, these crews, they have one person in the association, in our smaller group, who is responsible for this crew. So this crew talks to this person and they take decisions, and sometimes the decision goes back to our group to a discussion. So all of it.
So until very recent, let's say until 2009, the boom was totally pyramidal system, very hierarchical. Since then, it's starting to open up. This pyramid has been banged on the top, so it's a bit flatter now. There's much more people at the top trying to decide and to take administrative decisions on how boom is run. And then there is the pilots of the areas. Every area has a coordinator, and this coordinator also has the power of decision. But mainly the decisions are divided between arts, structure, administration, and accountancy. And these decisions are interweaved by different people. We are not yet working fully on consensus. We are planning to go in the future even beyond consensus into new ideas that are popping up nowadays in the different communitarian ways, but it's still a working process. And definitely, I mean, both groups already have non-profit. Boom finally created a non-profit a few weeks ago. As let's say, we try to be as visionary as possible from an economic perspective also. Until very recently, we didn't work with volunteers at all. The volunteer program is something very new at Boom. We were paying staff 100%, and the staff at Boom nowadays it's about 2,000 people working. And so the staff was always paid. And a very big percentage of that staff is local staff. It's people from around here. Apart from that, this year we introduced a special ticket price for what I don't know who invented that fantastic name, but the PIGS countries. got a special prize ticket if you could prove that you're part of, if you live in those countries. Portugal was one of them, so it was Portugal, Italy, Greece, and Spain. But we've done that also for many years now with what we call countries in development. We have special ticket tiers for those countries also that are then sold through the ambassadors in those different countries. From the point of view of figuring out what to do in the future and how to counteract these sort of situations, what we try to do is very much through this liminal village. We've had many panels on alternative economy, on how you can try, what can we think for the future as a better economical future for everyone, not from this capitalistic perspective, but from something that is much more earth-based and human-based, right? That's our vision in a way. Another impact, for example, that this so-called crisis is having from a perspective of event is that our event became exceedingly expensive. This boom this year is exceedingly expensive because everything in Portugal now is very expensive. For example, I'm quite amazed every time I go to Fusion. There's a very big difference in the prices of Fusion versus the prices of the boom, for food, for drinks, for whatever. And of course, being that Fusion is far cheaper than we are here. And I was confronted with this by many people, also many German friends, asking, hey, why is a meal at Boom costing 7 or 8 when at Fusion costs 5? And I found out the reason. The reason is that Portugal is now jam-locked into a tax deducting country, and we've been affected by that. Food in Portugal is now pretty much taxed at 23%. Everything is 23% instead of 7% or 6% like it's mostly in Germany. So this big difference, which is just one little speck of the crisis, what's happening in Portugal, is creating this. For example, this year we had another big problem in the festival, which is every foreigner worker, even if it's a Spanish, so communitarian, has to live here immediately 25% of their earnings. This becomes a problem for artists. All the DJs who are playing here this year have to live here a quarter of their fee to whatever system that is collapsing. So all of these things have a lot of managing and diplomacy to be dealt with. So in that sense, the festival is also doing a lot of work in that area. Yeah. Further, yeah, I think further, what we really need is more information, more ideas, and new concepts of economics. That's what we need, definitely.
Well, about the food prices, it's maybe also a question of regulation, because we tell the food sellers €5 is the maximum they have to serve. They have to sell the food for €5. That's it. But anyway, it's more expensive here. They are more expensive for them, so maybe you can tell them €6. And with a 25%, it's the same in Germany. Like foreign artists, we have to pay 20%, but we have to pay on top. Well, that we could take it from the artist, but if you make an arrangement with the artist and you come afterwards and say, okay, but then you have to pay, now you have to give me 20% back, he would say, well, but the fee was not that big, so we pay it on top. Anyway, the question of, in general, if the next economic breakdown comes, and it will come sooner or later, nobody knows how festivals can continue, can survive with this. We have to know that, or we have to realize that people here, people in Fusion, and as well people in Burning Man, are mostly privileged middle-class people. And it's not the first ones who will be affected of the next breakdown, but those ones who will be affected are maybe the ones who have already now difficulties to come to a festival like this, because of course prices are high. And as I know how much the Burning Man costs, and I feel like, okay, if I'm a poor worker, I can't go there. It's not only the entrances. I need a car. I need to bring all the goods I need, all kind of stuff of that. We can just say it's hard to realize a festival in that size, and there's so many costs nobody could see. And even that we raised the price this year on 20 euros more, we get to a very difficult economical situation after the festival, and we have to deal every year. We have to watch every year how can we finance everything without losing the opportunity and the goal to do what we want and to do what we think is important, and don't cut like the program or the idealistic thing that people come and want to do something special, and we have to find out where we can save something, but on the end the people have to pay what they get for. There's no way around. If you're not supported, like we have no support at all. We run a theater festival every second year. This theater festival is a huge one. It's not like Fusion, it's 5,000 people, but it's like 20 different stages or sceneries, and it's officially, it's not possible to finance something like this by itself. Nobody, you know, if I go to a theater and I look one show, the government pays €100 on top of what I pay €50. Otherwise it's not possible. And to run a festival, a theater festival, you have to support it. We have to support our theater festival extra by what we earn with Fusion. And if you do things like this, at least somebody has to pay for it. The people come to Fusion, they also support and they also pay that attention, how it's called, can happen. Otherwise it will not work.
So the simple answer is we increased our amount of what we call low-income tickets. We doubled it. So people that don't have means, we double the amount of them can get in. And we also cut our profit margin. We did not increase our ticket prices to make more money or throw the cost back on the participants. Our ticket prices have gone up a little bit, but that's due to the fact that, again, the globe, everything costs more to get it. But we actually made less money. So we cut our profit margin. But again, because we don't, because we create a vessel and people come to our event and bring what it is they want to bring, we've been through 2 major downturns now in our cycle. This one's much larger than the first one, but because we live in Silicon Valley where the .com has such a huge impact on everything that happens at our event, we've seen 2 cycles now, and I've seen something really, really beautiful, and this is very inspiring, is that people spend less money to bring stuff, to make their stuff at Burning Man. Remember, we just provide the show, they bring the stuff. They spend less money to do it, but they're more ingenious with it. And I think you'll see it historically, that whenever the times are hard, creativity increases, and people don't have jobs, they have more time to spend making their art projects. And if they can cut the price down, they make really cool shit. So there's a lot of ingenuity that's come out of both of these downturns, and a lot of coming together of people who wouldn't have time or ability to come together otherwise to make really beautiful stuff. So it's super hard, but it also is a time of creative prosperity oftentimes, and we're seeing that at our event.
I thought it was great to hear you all talk about your inspiration, all the chances, the possibilities, but also the difficulties in setting up these cutting edge events that go over the ordinary borders, and you always have to discover the new territory and what the new challenge is. But thank you for sharing all that information with us. Thank you for coming all. And I would like to have a great applause for all speakers.